Water is the most important thing in our life. To have our own water is the best security in our life. Digging a pond is one way to have our own water. Pond cannot save only water. Pond can produce fish. Pond can be swimming pool. Pond can be our natural water tank that will make our life more secure. So have a pond is important. We can dig a pond everywhere, but it doesn't mean every pond will have water. Sometimes we dig it very deep, but there's no water at all. Sometimes we dig it not very deep, only 2 meters, but we have a lot of water. Before we dig a pond, what we need to do first is location selection. Selecting the location. Where is the best place to dig a pond? Because if we select the wrong spot, it will never hold water. The pond will have no water at all. So, how to select the location? We need to understand the landscape of our land first. If our land become high, that's a high spot like this. If we dig a pond on top of this spot, this pond will have no water. Because in the high land, high location, the soil is always looser than in the low area. So when the water get in there, it's seeping out very quick. If we fill up the whole pond, sometime one night the water is gone. There's nothing left in there. This is one problem if we dig the pond in a high area. It will not hold water well. This is the first thing we need to think about. The second thing is if we make a pond on the high area, when the rain drop, there's not enough space to collect rainwater to fill up. So we don't have enough water to fill up the pond. That's another reason that make this pond cannot have water. So whenever we think about digging a pond, always thinking about in the low area. If we thinking about the low area, we have more chance to get water, and we have more chance to hold water longer. This is very important part of it, because many people who have no experience about this, they always think about to have a pond in the high area, and then you can use gravity to siphon the water from the pond to water the low area. In the thinking way, it works, but in practical way, it doesn't work. So to have the pond in the low area and pump it up is better than have no water to pump. So we always looking for the lowest area to dig pond, because we can collect more rainwater go to the pond. And if we dig the pond in the low area, there's more chance to hit the table water underground. If we dig the pond deeper than 3 meters, we have more chance to hit the table water underground. The water will seep out to the pond. Sometimes we pump the water out all day long, but the water never finish, because the water underground will come to our pond, will feed our pond all the time. This is a good thing by digging a pond in the low area. And another benefit of digging a pond in the low area is when the rain comes, we collecting all water into the pond, and then the water fill up the pond, a lot of pressure. So the water will be pushed underground more. This is the way we keep water underground more. So whenever we think about location, thinking about the lowest area first. And remember that pump water in the low area to the higher area is better than have no water to pump. The second thing to think about is what kind of soil do we have? Because if we know the soil is very important, the good soil for digging a pond is clay. Because clay, when it's wet, it expands a lot and then it holds water better. If our land have clay in some area, that is good area to dig a pond. If it's sandy soil, sand cannot hold water very well, and sand can flow, can collapse very fast. Clay is the best spot to make a pond. Or rocky area, sometimes it's very hard rock. If you have a rock in the low area, it's good to dig a pond too. If you can dig, it's not too hard to dig. Because in the rock area, mainly, it holds water better sometimes, but not always. The third thing to think about is the shape of the pond. How can we design the pond to have the best shape to keep the pond last longer, and it's good for fish and it look nicer. In general, many areas they like to make the shape with corner like this. Can be square or rectangle or anything like this. The shape like this is easy for the machine to dig, and then it's easy to calculate the price for many people. But this technique is not natural. The corner like this will collapse very quick, and then it will not last very long if the shape will change after that. The best shape is how can we make pond with no corner. It can be curved, it can be something like this. This kind of shape is more natural, because in natural there's no angle, no corner like this. But if we make the shape like this, it will last longer, it will not collapse fast. And there's more curve where the plant can grow different way, and the fish will love it more with this technique. And then if we want to make a house at the cave like this, it's nicer spot. So to design the land with no angle like this, to design the pond with no angle like this, is more useful, it's better. The next thing to think about is how can we dig the pond, how steep it is. This is very important part of it, because we need to think about the edge of the pond. How steep do we want it? We need to think about two things. The first thing, if we want to raise fish, if the edge stiff like this, the fish will not grow very well, because there's not enough space for the sunlight to hit, like a water go like this. Very tiny spot that the sunlight can hit the ground, because it's very stiff. When the sunlight cannot hit the ground, there's not enough algae, not enough plant to grow. Fish has no food to eat, they grow slower. This technique, the stiff edge is not very useful way of digging a pond. The first thing, the fish goes slow. The second thing is it erodes, it collapses very fast. Because if stiff like this, not very long it will come like this, because this part will be flow back to the bottom. It makes the pond shallow more faster, because the stiff edge will flow back to fill up this pond. This part is very important to think about it. And if we make the edge slope more like this, so the water will be like this. There are more space for the sunlight to hit the ground. The fish will grow a lot faster. I used to dig a pond very stiff. I released the baby fish the size of the fish the size of my finger. 3 years, the fish this big. 3 years. But when I make the edge of the pond more slope like this, 3 months the fish this big. 3 months and 3 years is so different. So if we think about having fish in our pond, thinking about the area where they can find food like this. This is the way we dig ponds for fish. And if the soil, our soil is sandy soil, if we make it stiff like this, it collapses very fast. The edge will go and then fill up. Make it shallow very quick. Because it's sandy soil, when it's wet, it flows to the bottom. It comes to the bottom very quick. In 1 year, 3 meters pond can be filled up. We have only 2 meters in 1 year in the sandy soil. But if it's clay, it maybe lasts longer than that. Another technique that people dig pond, they make ledge like this. They make ledge like this. When the water come here, there's more space for fish, because the fish, they grow fast in the shallow water because there's more food and they have space to sleep. They love to sleep in the shallow water more than the deeper water. So they will grow fast, grow better. Or if the water come up to this level, so they have more space. The ledge like this, it had to be at least 1 meter. From here to here, 1 meter. This technique is good for clay and rock area, not good for sandy area. If we have sandy soil, don't make ledge like this. Have to make like this for sandy soil. And normally, the depth of the pond, if we want to keep water, save a lot of water, it's better to make it deeper. We like to make the pond deeper than 4 meters at least. 4 meters down, from the top to the bottom, about 4 meters. At least, if we go deeper than that, it's better, because we have more chance to hit table water underground, because there are many levels of table water underground. Sometimes 3 meters minimum that we found in Thailand is about 2 meters. That's the minimum we can hit the table water. But some area 10 meters you cannot hit the table water underground at all. So deeper is better. And then another good way of it is when we dig very deep pond, at least 4 meters underground. When the rain comes, we collect more rainwater, and then we bring water to underground more. So even sip out, we save it in the soil underground more. Whenever we pump the water from the pond to use, the water underground will come back to refill our pond. This technique helped a lot in many areas that we dug pond in the past. If we want to make a pond to raise fishes, one thing we need to know is most of the fish love shallow water because they have more food. When I'm talking about raising fish, I don't mean to buy food from the factory to feed our fish. If we buy food from the factory to feed our fish, we can make the pond deep, it's okay, because we need to feed them. But if we want to make a pond without depending on the company, we want to be self-reliant on fish, we need to design the pond shallow. Many areas, if we make the pond only 2 meters depth, and in this case, if we have another source of water, you can pump water to fill up here often. With this technique, we raise fish very fast. They grow very fast because it's shallow. So a lot of things grow under this. The fish will grow fast. And we can grow some zucchini, we can grow some banana on the side, we can grow some cassava on the side, on the edge of the pond. Every day we break a few handful of branches of leaves and then put on the edge of the pond. They will eat that. And then they grow fast after that. So we spend less money on this kind of pond because the pond create food for themselves. Sometimes we can add more cow dungs in here to give more food for the plant underwater. They grow faster and then they produce more planktons and many things that make the fish grow fast too. What kind of fish can we raise in the pond? We can raise any kind of fish. If we have nursery nearby, we can buy the baby fish from the nursery. And if we don't have nursery, we can have male and female fish and release in this pond. But if we do that, we need to know that if the fish with the tail fish, the tail like this, like a V shape. The tail of the fish like this, they cannot lay eggs, they cannot hatch in the still water. They will hatch only in the running water. They need to, in the season that they lay eggs, we need to pump the water, make the water in the pond run all the time. They will lay egg, they will hatch at least 12 hours. 12 hours we pump the water, make the water run in, make the water move in the pond for 12 hours in the season that they lay eggs. So this kind of fish, they will lay eggs when the water is moving only. Because if the water stays still, the egg will fall to the bottom and then it will not hatch. But if the water is running, the egg turn around, they will hatch fast. But the fish that have round tail like this, mainly the fish in this family will be like a snake fish, catfish, or tilapia. They will have the round half circle tail like this. This kind of fish, they can lay eggs in the still water. The water not running, they love it. So we need to understand these two kinds of fish before we raise them. And both of them can grow well in the shallow water. But this one, the V-shaped fish, they can grow well in the deep water also. But the tail like this doesn't like deep water much. They like to be in the shallow water more. This is very important to know the characters or the habit of fish before we raise them. So look at the fish in your area. What kind of fish do you have? And look at the tail. So you can choose what kind of fish you want to raise. Some more information that we need to know. Which kind of fish eat grass, eat vegetable? Which kind of fish eat another fish? That we need to know. Mainly, if we know the character of the fish, for example, tilapia, they love to eat grass. If we release 5 couples of tilapias in our pond, we need to have 1 couple of catfish or snakefish in our pond also. Because catfish or snakefish, they eat another fish. And tilapia, they eat grass. They eat plants underwater. And in tilapia, they lay eggs every 3 months. They propagate very fast. If they have many population, they will not grow. They will be small, like this size for a year sometime. So when we have catfish or snakefish will eat a lot of tilapia baby. And then it decreases the population of tilapia. When the population decreases, the tilapia will be bigger and bigger very fast. That they will control themselves. We don't need to feed them much with this technique. Remember that if we raise fish by using food from the factory, or we rely on the company to buy food from them, mainly we cannot make money much because we just make money for the company. But if we raise fish in this way, think about food for the fish that they eat, plants. We feed them with plants. And then have fish that eat another fish to control population. And then we will get very big fish easily. So it's quite fun to learn how to have fish.